Have you ever wondered what secrets the entertainment industry hides from the very fans who give it life? What if I told you, BTS's Taehyung, the artist we know as V, has just revealed truths that HYBE never wanted the world to hear? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see Taehyung in a way you never imagined. And before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe. That's how you and I stay connected every time a story like this shakes the world. Chapter 1. The Calm Before the Storm. Taehyung has always been more than just an idol. He's a painter, a thinker, and an observer of the world. His calm nature often makes people believe he accepts everything quietly. But those closest to him, and those who listen carefully, know he carries unspoken truths. Behind the warm smile and soulful eyes, there are layers of silence. Moments when he looked at the crowd, paused, and seemed to want to say more. For years, fans whispered, "Is he holding something back?" Now that silence has cracked, and the truth is spilling out. The first signs of tension. It started small. Subtle gestures, vague words in interviews, lyrics that seemed too honest to be fiction. Taehyung would speak about freedom, about pressure, about wanting to live authentically. One line still echoes, "Sometimes I wonder if I'm truly free." At the time, people thought it was just artistic expression. But looking back, wasn't it a warning? HYBE, like any massive company, thrives on control. Every detail, from a tweet to a stage outfit, is polished to perfection. And yet, Taehyung began leaving cracks in that polished surface. Tiny rebellions only the sharpest fans could see. The hidden struggles. Behind the scenes, things weren't as glamorous as they seemed. Long schedules, relentless pressure, and a constant need to meet expectations weighed heavily. Taehyung once shared how he missed simple moments. Walking down a street without cameras, sitting at a cafe unnoticed, laughing without worrying about headlines. But there was something deeper. He hinted at creative ideas he wanted to explore. Songs, art, even concepts that were often sidelined. Not because they weren't good, but because they didn't fit HYBE's strategy. Imagine being one of the world's biggest stars, yet feeling unheard in the very company that owes its empire to you. That's the paradox Taehyung lived. The revelation moment. The shock came during a casual live stream. Fans tuned in expecting his usual warmth, a few jokes, maybe a song or two. But this time was different. His tone shifted, his eyes sharpened, and the words he chose felt deliberate. He spoke about truths that idols cannot always share. He mentioned how sometimes companies protect their image, but not always the person inside. And then, almost in a whisper, he said, "There are things HYBE doesn't want you to know." The chat exploded. Fans froze. Was this really happening? It wasn't anger in his voice. It wasn't gossip. It was calm, too calm. The kind of calm that comes from holding back for years. What was HYBE hiding? The first fact he revealed shocked everyone. He admitted that many of his artistic ideas, songs he wrote late at night, never reached fans. Not because he didn't want to share them, but because the company decided they didn't align with the group's direction. Think about that. The very songs that carried his heart, his truest emotions, were locked away. Not because they weren't good, but because they weren't marketable enough. The second fact was even heavier. He confessed that, at times, he felt like decisions about BTS's future were made without the full voices of the members. That their schedules, promotions, even personal milestones, were often dictated more by corporate needs than human needs. And then came the deepest cut. He spoke of moments when members asked for breaks, not for laziness but for health, for peace of mind, only to be told that the world is waiting and the world cannot wait. The emotional fallout. The chat was filled with broken hearts and tears. Fans weren't angry at Taehyung, they were grateful. Grateful that he trusted them enough to finally speak. One fan wrote, "You don't have to hide anymore. We'll listen." Another, "Thank you for telling us. We'll stand by you always." And in that moment, you could see a weight lifting from his shoulders. It wasn't about attacking HYBE. It wasn't about destroying an image. It was about finally being human, finally saying, "I matter too." Whispers behind closed doors. After Taehyung's quiet revelations, the fandom began piecing together clues. Old interviews, body language, even pauses in award show speeches suddenly felt different. Some fans recalled moments when Taehyung hesitated before answering a question, when his eyes flickered as if he wanted to say more but couldn't. Others pointed to lyrics, hidden messages in melodies that now sounded like cries for freedom. The truth is, HYBE, like many large companies, thrives on keeping appearances flawless. But perfection is heavy. Behind closed doors, even the brightest stars can feel trapped in shadows. And Taehyung's words confirmed what many suspected. Idols aren't always allowed to tell their own stories. The weight of silence. For years, Taehyung carried that silence. Imagine being in front of thousands of fans, all screaming your name, and yet feeling unheard by the very people who shape your career. He once said, "The stage gives me life, but sometimes I feel like the stage takes something from me too." That wasn't just poetry, it was pain. Silence may protect an image, but it suffocates the soul. And for Taehyung, breaking that silence was not rebellion. It was survival. A brother's bond. What shook fans even more was when Taehyung hinted that he wasn't alone. He said carefully that other members have felt the same. He didn't name names, but the implication was clear. BTS as a family has shared struggles. Struggles often unseen by the outside world. Think of the bond they built. 7 boys fighting against impossible odds, rising to the top. But that same bond was tested when corporate expectations clashed with personal needs. In Taehyung's voice, there was no betrayal toward his brothers, only love. He wanted the world to know. Their silence didn't mean they weren't hurting. Chapter: The Fans' Power. The moment the live ended, social media exploded. #WeStand with Taehyung trended worldwide within minutes. Fans demanded transparency. They flooded HYBE's channels, asking why such truths had to be hidden in the first place. This wasn't hate. It wasn't an attack. It was love. Millions of fans standing up for the artist who finally bared his soul. And for Taehyung, this was healing. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like he was fighting alone. The army of voices gave him strength to keep speaking, to keep creating, to keep being himself. HYBE's response. Companies move carefully in moments like these. Silence can make things worse, but too much defense can sound like denial. HYBE chose their words with precision, promising support, promising that all members' voices matter. But fans weren't satisfied with polished statements. They wanted change. They wanted Taehyung and every member to have the freedom to create, to rest, to live as more than just a brand. Behind the official words, a battle had begun, not of anger, but of truth versus image. The man behind the idol. Perhaps the most powerful part of Taehyung's reveal wasn't the facts themselves. It was his humanity. He wasn't a superstar speaking from a pedestal. He was a young man, still searching for balance between duty and dream. A man who loves music, art, and connection. A man who loves his fans enough to finally tell them the truth, no matter the risk. And that's why this moment shocked the world. Not because it exposed a company, but because it reminded everyone that even the brightest stars are still human. The ripple effect. When Taehyung spoke, it wasn't just a moment, it was a wave. Other artists began to share cryptic posts, subtle words about freedom, about identity, about control. Suddenly, Taehyung's revelation wasn't just about BTS or HYBE. It was about the entire industry. Fans noticed the ripple. They saw how courage is contagious. One artist dares to speak, and another finds their voice. Taehyung became a spark in a place where silence had been the norm for too long. The entertainment industry thrives on glitter, lights, and applause. But behind that curtain is exhaustion, compromise, and countless unspoken rules. Taehyung's story stripped away that glitter. He showed fans that idols aren't machines programmed for perfection. They're human beings who cry, who doubt, who crave freedom just like anyone else. And perhaps the most heartbreaking truth. Many idols dream of creating art that never leaves the practice room. Songs written in notebooks, melodies hummed into phones, visions for performances. All silenced because they don't fit the brand. Taehyung's voice cracked that curtain wide open. The fans' revolution. ARMY is not just a fandom, it's a force. When Taehyung revealed those truths, fans didn't just listen, they mobilized. They launched petitions, demanded transparency, and sent endless letters of support. Hashtags trended for weeks. Videos dissecting his words hit millions of views. Fan art flooded timelines, celebrating his courage. For once, the conversation wasn't about charts or awards. It was about humanity. And Taehyung felt that love. You could see it in his next appearance. His smile softer, his eyes brighter. He wasn't alone anymore. Brothers in arms. Though Taehyung spoke first, his words carried the weight of 7. Fans remembered how the members had always hinted at struggles. Jungkook's tears, RM's confessions, Suga's quiet honesty. Behind the carefully crafted brand, BTS had always been 7 brothers fighting the same war. And now, thanks to Taehyung, the world finally understood the price of their success. It wasn't betrayal. It was loyalty. By speaking, Taehyung was protecting his brothers, giving voice to what they might never say out loud. The artist within. When Taehyung shared that many of his songs never reached fans, ARMY demanded to hear them. They wanted his truth, unfiltered. And soon, whispers spread that he was working on ways to release his personal projects, whether through official channels or quietly, independently. For Taehyung, this wasn't just rebellion, it was liberation. Music has always been his language. Painting, photography, even his soulful way of looking at the world, they all pointed to one truth. He is an artist first and an idol second. And when an artist finds freedom, the world feels it. Hope in the shadows. Despite the heaviness of his revelations, Taehyung ended his stream with hope. He told fans, "Don't worry for me. Just keep listening, keep believing. That's all I need." Those words healed hearts. They reminded everyone that even in shadows, there is light. Even in silence, there is a song waiting to be sung. And in that moment, ARMY knew this wasn't the end of a story. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one where their voices and his could rise together. The corporate shadow. After Taehyung's words, whispers of tension between artists and companies grew louder. It was no longer about HYBE alone. It was about an entire system that sometimes puts profit before people. But here's the thing. Taehyung didn't speak to destroy. He spoke to awaken. He wanted fans to see the human side of idols, to know the sacrifices behind the perfect smiles. And in doing so, he gave courage not only to idols, but to ordinary people everywhere. Anyone who's ever felt silenced by authority. Global shockwaves. News outlets across the world picked up Taehyung's statements. Headlines called it a rare act of bravery, and the moment that shook K-pop. But beyond the headlines, something deeper happened. Parents who once dismissed BTS as just another boy band began to respect them more. Critics who doubted their artistry began to reconsider. And millions of fans who already loved Taehyung now loved him even more. Not just as an idol, but as a truth teller. The world saw not just a superstar, but a young man with the courage to stand against silence. The price of truth. Of course, truth always comes with a price. Industry insiders whispered that Taehyung might face restrictions, that certain opportunities could quietly slip away. That's how the industry protects itself. But fans countered with louder love. They promised to support him no matter what, to stream his songs endlessly, to show HYBE and the world that no company is stronger than the bond between artist and fan. And in that bond, Taehyung found protection greater than any contract. The brothers' silent support. Though the other members stayed quiet publicly, fans noticed subtle signs. Jimin's words of encouragement, RM's thoughtful posts, Jungkook's emotional looks during performances. They didn't need to say much. Their bond has always been beyond words. Taehyung's courage was theirs too, spoken through him. And that silent unity reminded ARMY that BTS isn't 7 individuals under a company. It's 7 souls, bound by something deeper than ink on paper. A new dawn for art. Slowly, fans began to see changes. Rumors spread that HYBE was giving members more creative freedom. New songs, new concepts, new hints of individuality began to surface. Was it because of Taehyung's words? Perhaps. Or perhaps it was simply time. But one thing was clear. His courage had accelerated the change. And for fans this meant hope. Hope that one day they would hear Taehyung's hidden songs. Hope that idols everywhere might finally be free to share their true voices. The legacy of courage. Years from now, when people look back at BTS's history, they won't only remember sold-out stadiums and record-breaking albums. They'll remember this. The night Taehyung chose truth over silence. That moment will live forever. Not as a scandal, not as rebellion, but as legacy. The legacy of an artist who loved his fans enough to risk everything, just to say, "We are human too." Microphone conclusion. A message to you. So, what do we learn from Taehyung's courage? That no matter how big the stage, the truest power lies in honesty. That even when the world wants perfection, it is humanity that connects us most. And maybe this isn't just about idols. Maybe it's about you. Maybe it's about the truth you've been afraid to speak, the dream you've been told to hide, the voice you've kept silent because of fear. Let Taehyung's courage be your reminder. Your voice matters. Your story matters. And sometimes the most shocking thing you can do is to finally be yourself. So tell me, if Taehyung can reveal truths HYBE wanted hidden, what truth will you have the courage to reveal in your life? And before you go, don't forget to subscribe. Because together we're not just telling stories. We're uncovering truths the world needs to hear.